What is up guys, it's Cal, and in this video we'll be taking a look at the heroic Flamefist and the Illuminated boss in the new raid coming in patch 8.1, Battle of Dazar'alor. Now this raid was originally called Siege of Zuldazar, but Blizzard quickly clarified that this was a placeholder name, so it's currently named Battle of Dazar'alor. Anyways, slowly but surely Blizzard is releasing bosses, 2 at a time it seems, on heroic difficulty for raid testing. Now mind you, these bosses, well, at least these dungeons seem fairly incomplete. I mean, you can see right now I'm running into invisible walls, I don't know where I'm going, there's no trash around, but not only that, the fights definitely need some tuning to them. Before we get into the fight itself, if you're curious as to where the instance portal for the raid is for the Horde, it's located at the north end of Dazar'alor, as you see now. For Alliance, it'll be different, it'll be closer to the southern dock. Since the whole premise is that Alliance start down there and then they fight their way up to the top of Dazar'alor, then Horde kind of do the opposite, I don't know. It all gets sort of confusing, especially since Blizzard recently said that they're thinking of making the order of all 9 bosses the same for both factions, whereas originally they said different. Also, I was doing this raid with Mr. GM, which was pretty cool. Anyways, for this boss, Flamefist and the Illuminated are listed as a third boss that Horde have to face, and it consists of a Culturon human fire mage and a Draenei monk. Now, neither of them share a health pool, but you might want to DPS them at the same time, roughly, because of an ability that the Illuminated, who is the monk, has, which is called Harmonious Spirits. Her damage is increased if Flamefist has less health than her, and that increase in damage keeps going up if Flamefist's health keeps going down. Now, Flamefist repeatedly casts Fireball on his current target, as fire mages do, and it's not interruptible. Then he'll teleport to a random location on the field and do a long Pyroblast cast. Now, this will apparently hit some target, I believe it's a random player who's marked, and Flamefist also gains an absorption shield which should be DPS'd off every time he casts this Pyroblast, and it seems as though the Pyroblast interrupts when the absorption shield falls off. So this should be a hard swap onto him. Now the heroic mechanic for Flamefist is that every time he uses Pyroblast, there will be 2 of these magma traps that spawn. Now these didn't seem to be doing what they were supposed to do, on the PTR at least. On the PTR they seem to spawn in the exact same locations every time, and leaving them up didn't seem to do much to the raid. I don't know if it was doing some fire damage to us all as long as they stayed up, I didn't really notice it. Not too sure. But what's supposed to happen with them is that a person is supposed to stand in it to trigger it, but this person will take damage and be shot very far up in the air, and then seem to fall to their demise. I mean, as you see, I even activated cat form and still died. I probably should have went boomkin and then used flap for slow fall. But anyways, what I believe is supposed to happen is that multiple people need to get into it at the same time, therefore the distance it shoots you up into the air might be lesser, I don't know. And maybe the damage is split amongst those people who get hit by it. But even you saw there, the initial damage it did to me wasn't all that much, it was the falling that killed me. But then all players who stand in it and get hit by it get a 10-minute debuff that increases the damage that they take from all subsequent magma traps by 100%. So I guess the damage of it does rack up due to that. So obviously putting a player into that who can negate fall damage like a demon hunter, a hunter with disengage, or a pally bubble, etc, there's plenty of options, but that would be a good option. Then for the Illuminated, she'll roll to a location and cast Spinning Crane Kick, which seems to also do a frontal AoE cone, and then on heroic she'll summon a Zuin pet. This just seems to be an annoyance and should be killed when you see it. Now those are the main abilities I noticed. I mean, there is some healing debuff that Flamefist puts on people that needs to be dispelled, and some tank mechanic that the Illuminated does, so there is that. Now something else I noticed in the dungeon journal but we didn't get to in this fight, but there is an energy bar at the top of the screen which corresponds to the energy and mana bars that both bosses have, and at certain intervals something is supposed to happen. Like at 30 energy, living bombs spawn which damage everyone, but has some mystical monk mist around it which acts like a rogue smoke bomb, so you can't target into it or you can't target out of it, so you would just hug these things and DPS them down. Then at 60 energy, this one I wish I saw honestly, but all players teleport to one side of the battlefield and the bosses teleport to the other side. Flamefist puts an absorption shield around both of them and pelts the raid with fire phoenixes, and the Illuminated creates a maze that the raid has to traverse, reach them, DPS the shield down to end the phase. Then at 100 energy, the monk transforms into a jade spirit which continuously casts the dragon breath, and the mage turns into a phoenix which just damages everyone for fire damage every 3 seconds. So this phase may act as some sort of enrage depending on how much damage it does, because it does persist through the rest of the fight. And well, there you have it. that is Flamefist and the Illuminated on heroic difficulty. Now as I said, it needs some tuning because our encounter lasted 3 minutes and we maybe got them down only 10%. And this doesn't have to do with our gear level, by the way. Blizzard does inflate everyone's item levels in the PTR for raids to where they see appropriate. Besides the placement of the magma traps being the same every time, the fact that they didn't seem to do much unless someone walked into them, the fight was fairly interesting. I do think the mechanic called Harmonious Spirits that the Illuminated has was a fairly unique one because we've had multi-boss encounters where they share health pools like Coven of Shivara and Felhound Sargeras. Also multi-boss encounters where only one boss is attackable at certain health pools like Sisters of the Moon or even the Antaran High Council. And then we've also had multi-boss encounters where, well, they don't share health pools at all, like Hellfire High Council or the Iron Maidens. But a fight where you don't have to DPS the bosses at the same time if you don't want, but as one loses health, the other becomes stronger, is sort of refreshing. Now I'm not talking about a fight where, like the Iron Maidens, as one of them reaches 20%, they all go crazy, or like Hellfire High Council, where when one of them reaches 30%, they go crazy. This is obviously different. So I feel like in this fight you'll want most of your raid, I don't know if I'd say everyone, but most focused on the Illuminated. But when Flamefist is about to cast Pyroblast, hard swap onto him. So those are my thoughts on the encounter. I'd like to hear yours in the comments below if you have any, and I'll be making more of these as soon as I can, and as soon as Blizzard releases them on the PTR. So anyways, if you enjoyed this video, you can leave a like on it, you can sub to the channel for more videos like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.